The Legal Rebels Tour Diary. Brought to you by Westlaw, better results faster. By Total Attorneys, Rebels Welcome. By Hertz. By Sprint. And by Starwood Preferred Guest.
Welcome to day 6 of the Legal Rebels Tour. This is our daily tour diary, and we just got back from seeing Frank Aquilla, who is a partner at Sullivan & Cromwell, big M&A guy, named Dealmaker of the Year 2009 by American Lawyer magazine. So one might reasonably ask, why the heck is this guy a rebel, right? I mean, he seems pretty status quo. Why is he a rebel?
Well, one of the things I think is that it's interesting for a guy in his position, a partner at a big law firm, to be so aggressively experimenting with all of this new and social media in particular. He's really embraced Twitter and LinkedIn, and he just uses it because as he explained to us, he uses it because he likes it and because the people he wants to interact with are already on there.
Right.
So.
Not only is Frank connected with Twitter, LinkedIn, he also writes a weekly column for Business Week, and he does video casts for The Deal. And they said that at Sullivan & Cromwell, they're encouraging associates to do more writing in the media to get away from writing long memos and being able to put things into, plain English and have a better understanding of the concepts that they're talking about, which in turn helps them out in negotiations. So kind of being more proactive with interacting with the media than holding back, we don't want to say anything.
Right. Like you, I was impressed with his experimentation with some of these media techniques. And the fact that somebody in his position who's very successful typically wouldn't do that. I mean, the experimenters tend to be people who are on the margins, people who are not in the center of sort of the status quo. And see somebody at the whitest of white shoe law firms, Sullivan & Cromwell, who's very successful there doing this, I thought was interesting. And if he's doing it, God knows everybody else ought to be at least looking at that kind of technique for getting the word out, trying to build your brand and build your expertise. And I thought it was interesting. This is Monday, so we just got off of the weekend. We had 2 days off, which was nice to have 2 days off. Tell us a bit about what you did on the weekend.
I took the train back up to Connecticut and saw family and friends. Could not get enough of Connecticut. I actually really like it. And then yesterday I got to go for a nice long walk on my way to dinner and got to spend some time at the Met, and I really enjoyed the Afghanistan exhibit, the Hidden Treasures from Kabul, which was really fascinating.
How about you, Rachel?
A lot of time just walking around, soaking up the buildings. I had a friend who's an architect, so I learned a lot of different facts about all the different buildings here. Walked across the Brooklyn Bridge, which is good. Dinner in the Village, thanks to Evan.
Very cool, very cool. I spent some time with a couple of friends, walked around the West Village as well, which is my old neighborhood, and went to an art museum over the weekend. One of the things that I found interesting about the weekend wasn't so much what I did, but what happened inside my head. Which was, after, I know, one wonders, does anything happen inside Ed's head?
Do tell.
Do tell. Well, here's what happened. And I wrote about this actually in a post that went up on Sunday night. Was that one of the sort of journalism lessons that I've learned out of this experience, and I learned it over the weekend, was that in a way this trip for me has become totally a collective shared experience. That just doing stuff on my own doesn't really resonate with me in the same way as doing it with all 3 of you guys, including John, who's behind the camera. And without you there for the ride, it's like it's not real, it's not authentic, it's not part of the experience. And I found that very interesting because oftentimes, most of the time, reporters and journalists are solos, right? I mean, they work by themselves, right? They go out and they interview sources, they come back, they write, they push it on to an editor, and everybody does their own piece of the puzzle independently. But here, we're really working together, and I found that to be an interesting sort of revelation for me over the weekend. Which brings us to time to report about Song of the Day. Remember that you can listen to all these songs in the widget on our main tour page. That's legalrebels.com/tour, so you can get a sense of sort of what we're listening to as we're doing our work and moving about the day. Rachel, what's your selection for Monday?
Well, since we just came off a weekend of relaxing to get us back into the rebel spirit, I chose Uprising by Muse.
Good choice. And Molly?
I chose Ben Harper's Fight for Your Mind.
Okay, fair enough. I chose, in the continuing theme of New York-related songs, I chose Life During Wartime by the Talking Heads, which is not exactly a New York song, but it was inspired by the Lower East Side of the late 1970s. And I listened to this song like nonstop in the days after 9/11, and I found it to be a particularly comforting song to listen to. And on a lighter note, it's one of the few songs written for people over the age of 5 that includes the words peanut butter. And I love peanut butter, as everyone who knows me knows. So I like it for that reason as well. So that's the report for today. We have one more partial day in New York. And tomorrow afternoon, we will be hitting the road after our Rebel interview in the morning with David Latt. We will be hitting the road in the afternoon and headed to Washington. So we'll be back on the live webcams, at least for part of that trip, down to D.C. In the late afternoon East Coast time, so check it out. Bye.